came across the name Maurice Dubar. My French is rusty, but I believe I'm getting that probably 50% right. Would you mind explaining who Maurice is and why Maurice is relevant?
When I was first trying to research the benefits of hyperventilation breathwork practices and sort of get a deeper story into how they worked and who was doing them, I ran across this guy that completely randomly at an event, and he told me about this mysterious 90-year-old who would spend hours in the snow and swimming in frozen lakes up in the French Alps. And this was not Wim Hof. This was a predecessor of Wim Hof who has been doing this for 50, 60 years. And so I was able to contact him and learn about his path into this world and learn about how rehabilitating it was for his own health and the other people that came to see him. And I thought it was interesting that there is a long legacy of people who have been doing these things, just like most things, right? But they're usually hidden beneath a few layers and you have to dig a bit to get there. But he's a fascinating guy. Sadly, he passed away at 93 years old and did this almost every day, as often as he could.
How did he get to the breath work? What is his story?
He was extremely sick as a child, had various lung infections, various respiratory disorders, and he was slated for surgery. They were going to remove a large part of his lungs. And at that time, a missionary came in to see him and said, "Hey, I was just, in the Far East and I heard about this thing called yoga." And he said, "Well, what's yoga?" Well, he's like, "Let me tell you about it." And he showed him some breathing techniques. So Dubard said, "I don't want to do the surgery yet. Give me a few weeks to try to rehabilitate myself." And everyone thought he was crazy. And not only did he rehabilitate himself, he gained this almost superhuman strength by adopting these breathing practices. And that was in the 1950s. So that's how far ahead of the curve this guy was.
And what was he actually doing, in the sense that in the course of reading up on this guy a little bit, right, at 71, he toured the Himalayas on his bike at an elevation of 5,000 meters. He could sit in ice water effectively for 55 minutes, ran 150 miles beneath the sun in the Sahara Desert. And it seems like these stories, if you sort of follow the E.T. Reese's peanut butter bits back, lead to something called Tumo. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but that seems to be the spelling, at least Tummo. What differentiates that from different or other forms of breathing?
Tumo is an ancient breathwork practice from the Bon Buddhists that allows you to both generate heat in your body and store it. So this is what the monks have used in the Himalayas for thousands of years, reportedly, to help keep themselves warm. So it was a survival technique. And depending on who you talk to, some people say, oh, it's very religious, very spiritual. Other people say it's very practical. It's just a practical thing. And you can learn this. It's a mechanical skill that you can learn. Where it gets a bit more fuzzy is, what is Tumo? What is officially Tumo? What is the saccharine version of Tumo? Is Wim Hof version Tumo? And I try not to get into the weeds too much in the book, but basically there are two different versions. There's the traditional type in which you breathe very slowly and you reduce your metabolism and somehow the heat in your body goes up. Shouldn't be possible. There it is. And then there's the other type, which I guess isn't officially Tumo, but people still call it Tumo, which is the Wim Hof style breathing, the extremely intense hyperventilation techniques followed by breath holds and building pressure in your body.
Tumo Light registered trademark.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's still available. So.
I have all the URLs, guys. I'm squatting on them if you want any. And in the case of Tumo, is that something that you have personally experimented with, or have you left that on the shelf?
I've done the commercial version of it many times. I still do it today. It absolutely works if you are cold, if you're in the ocean, if you're in the snow. wherever you are, if you're cold, you can do this and you can jack your body temperature very, very quickly. The slower one is a much better kept secret. You're not going to find too many instructions for it. I've talked to a few Bon Buddhist monks about this, and they kind of smile and say, oh, maybe if you hang out with us for another 10 years and spend some time in the Himalayas. So, which has not been possible. But I do know some dedicated breathwork people that have gone the various levels deep into this and are now getting hints about it. But now they won't tell me because they say, I've got the secret.
Fight Club.
You got to do the work. So
yeah, the Fight Club of breath work.